Well then, hello gang. Not a good way to start a video, I've got to blow it. I might not be Barry Norman, even Orson Welles, or even the late great Roger Moore, but we try. We'll see how it goes. I think I'll do the next, the 3 films as individual videos, because I have a feeling even if I've got going on one of them, it'll be too long a video. So I'm your host, Sir Hilly Bray, Baronet, call me Hilly. Latterly, of a tour guide company in London, I can't name, in case it gets back to not allowed to express opinions in uniform, you see. I'm not in uniform. And, well, anyway. We're now at 1973, so Roger Moore is Bond. The first of a 7-film stint, it's going over 12 years, and indeed that's the thing about watching these Bond films, is that you see the actors change. It is incredible how Roger Moore physically changed over 12 years, and Connery, of course. Brosnan, to a point. Craig, I'm none the wiser. Live and Let Die is a tricky film in my book. I have a feeling there's people out there that like it, and I don't hate it, but it's not one of my favourites. It has its moments. The song's not too shabby. The pre-title sequence has some great moments. Jane Seymour's very attractive. So Roger makes Bond as best as he can in his first film. I mean, he said George Lazenby had it tough succeeding Sean Connery, which people don't really appreciate. He didn't care, Lazenby, but there's pressure. He was the first actor to play Bond after Connery, don't forget. And Roger Moore said that he could hear Connery's voice at times and all this stuff. And he conquered it. Rosie Carver is not a good Bond woman. Incompetent, too scared for things. I know she has superstitions, but you're a CIA agent. I would have thought there's a certain amount of cold, hard steel running through you. George Martin's music is serviceable. The trouble is with the Bond films after a while, perhaps, is that John Barry couldn't score every single one of them, all the way through to his last one in Living Daylights, 87. And so you have the non-Barry scores. Roger Moore's 7 films have 3 of them. And then, of course, after he leaves in 87, we've had the likes of Michael Kamen, Eric Serra, David Arnold, Thomas Newman, and now Hans Zimmer. So, Live and Let Die, as with Spy Who Loved Me and to a point For Your Eyes Only scores, mark the film very firmly in its era. It's 73, so you've got a kind of... I wouldn't say disco sound, but you got that 70s sound, and the score has repetition in it, but Solitaire Gets Her Cards is a nice little track. Bond Meets Solitaire is a decent track. It seems to tie in well with when Bond's being led out to his death. Bond to New York starts off well. Whisper Who Dare. So half of the scores are okay. The 1970s New York location, it's very nice. It's a shame there's not more of New York in the film. And indeed, shame there's not more New York in the Bond films. I don't think Craig's been out there. Dalton never did. Brosnan never did. Roger Moore, after Living Let Die, stayed away from it. The villain, classic Fleming, cartoonish villain, overblown quite literally at the end. And you got that double. It's a sort of seen as a blaxploitation film. Because of its plot, it is refined more than the book. The book involves uses of the N-word and stuff, but that was the period. I mean, Neville Shute's books, which he died in 1960, and and he was never, I don't think, racist, intentionally racist. It was just the way things were back then with some people. Not making an excuse, it's just saying, let's put it in context. The Craig films were a product of the era, as we're probably going to see with No Time to Die, died to Tomorrow, die. Bond's always dying, isn't he? Or he hasn't got time for dying. Tomorrow dies. Die another. But, derailed my own train of thought. Just as well not being paid for this crap, isn't it? Kind of like the bus scene because it's James Bond driving an old London bus. Roger Moore like Cliff Richard before him, got some training. Unlike Cliff Richard though, Roger Moore had something like a day or two training, I believe, and well, he does alright. It's a lot more difficult a job to do, I understand. Some of the drivers I worked with until Thrivers had been with a company, or I'd been in a bus driver long enough to have driven Route Masters, which are similar to the bus that Sir Roger drives. The Anorak will say that he drives as Cliff Richard did in Summer Holiday RT. No, Route Master isn't. But either way, the premise, there's a lot of wrenching and stuff. If you can, YouTube on the buses skid test or something like that, and they actually throw a bus around, and it's incredible. Apparently when I was little, my dad at a bus open day at Chiswick depot they allowed people on it while they flung around, no health and safety. But the film, much like this video, plods along, and then you think it's over, i.e. after the boat chase, and then there's a whole bloody section left when he goes off to the island. It feels like the film, even though it's only about an hour and 50, could be, the pacing is not quite there. I'm not saying the film should speed through, a film can take its time and still be good, but Live and Let Die keeps sort of rising and falling, and when you think it's over, it's not. And then, I think you could have cut out certain parts, possibly. What parts, I don't know. Maybe just get rid of the boat chase. Bond escapes, steals a plane, leads them around the Mary Chase, plane's destroyed. Island. The boat chase, though, I should add, I think it needs more music to it. Not all of it, but is this the trouble with the non-Barry scores? Barry didn't saturate his scores, hit the films with music, but there was meat to the bones. As debut Bond movies go, it's not the best, but it's not the worst. I don't know what the worst intro would be. I'm tempted to say Casino Royale at the moment, but Dr. No's 9 out of 10. On the Majesty's Secret Service will exclude because it's an intro and outro film. Daylight's 9 out of 10, I'd say. GoldenEye now 7, 8 out of 10. Casino Royale I used to love when it came out, and as I might say when I get to that video, it just not mad on it nowadays, unfortunately. That's going to put the cat amongst the pigeons. So that's Live and Let Die. And here we go for... we'll press on with the next two.